Hello students, welcome to our second revision session. In first revision session, we have discussed about important definitions from chapter number 8. We have discussed about distance, displacement, speed, velocity, acceleration. We have also discussed their units. We have discussed about uses of graph of distance against time and velocity against time. In our first revision session, we have also discussed about LABH, lithosphere, atmosphere, biosphere and hydrosphere of chapter number 14, that is our natural resources. We have also understood that the biotic components means the living things and abiotic components it is non-living things. Now let's discuss on some of the remaining important points of chapter number 14, that is our natural resources. Right, we have discussed there in chapter number 14 about air pollution. Now what do we mean by air pollution? By our activities, by our unnecessary activities, right, we are adding different type of pollutants into atmosphere. So that is called air pollution. By our automobiles, by some chemical process, also by the industries, we are adding pollutants into atmosphere which causes air pollution. Also we are very aware about water pollution. Now what is water pollution? Similar, adding of unnecessary substances, adding of waste in water bodies, that is considered as water pollution. By our activities like bathing of cattle or by adding the chemical waste directly into water bodies, by our other household activities, we are polluting our water bodies. By adding unnecessary metal waste into the water bodies, it also increases water pollution. So, in air pollution and water pollution, what we are doing, we are adding pollutants into air and pollutants into water. Now, due to all these activities of pollution of air, of water, we are also doing pollution of soil. In soil pollution also, we are adding different type of unnecessary pollutants, chemicals into soil. See, in soil pollution, the erosion of soil, right, that's also responsible. By adding fertilizers, by using different chemicals in farm, we are polluting our soil and that chemicals will get into ground and it will also pollute the underground water. So by all this type of activities of us, we are adding the global problems like global warming, which is caused due to greenhouse effect and depletion of ozone layer. Now let us understand that by all this type of pollutant, by adding pollutants into atmosphere, how we are suffering from this problem and what is solution of it. Now let's talk about greenhouse effect. Now what is greenhouse effect? See, greenhouse effect and global warming both are connected with each other. In greenhouse effect, what happens? This is our earth. We know that from sun different type of waves. In some cases it may be heat waves. It enters into, this is our atmosphere range. It enters into atmosphere of Earth and it try to bounce back. Now in atmosphere there are different greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, you can say CO2, carbon dioxide, methane, and etc. So what this greenhouse gases do, this greenhouse gases which is present in atmosphere, it will not allow the heat wave to reflect back, to reflect out. So it will there in atmosphere. So as it is there in atmosphere, so that heat waves will increase the temperature of our atmosphere, right? So it is absorbed by the greenhouse gases, right? They will increase the temperature of our atmosphere. So our temperature of atmosphere will get increased. Why? Because the heat wave, it bounced back, but due to this greenhouse gases, the temperature of our atmosphere will get increased. And as the temperature of the atmosphere is increases, so the temperature related to Earth will also get increased. And by increasing this type of temperature, what will happen? So simple, the water bodies, it will be not in its level. The glacier, ice of glacier, it will start melting. As it start melting, the water is added into water bodies, so the surface of water bodies will get increases. By increasing in temperature, it is quite difficult for living organisms to maintain, right? So this type of problems are created by pollutants, because this carbon dioxide, methane, and etc. greenhouse gases are added by our activities of air pollution and other types of pollutions. So in this greenhouse effect, it is like this, that the temperature of our Earth, it will be heated, and this problem is also called global warming. Now when the heat ray enter into atmosphere of Earth and when it try to go out, this greenhouse gases will not allow it to go back and increases the temperature. That is called global warming. But generally this is done in greenhouses, which you have seen in different farms. You have seen such type of greenhouses. So that effect of greenhouses and the effect due to this greenhouse gases which is done, it is similar. So this type of effect is called greenhouse effect, and due to this greenhouse effect, the surface of sea bodies, it will get increased due to melting of ice of glaciers of poles, right? So this is a global problem for us, which is caused by our pollution. The another global problem, that is depletion of ozone layer. We know that this is our Earth, and in our atmosphere there is a layer of ozone, right? Around the atmosphere there is this type of layer of ozone. Now this ozone layer, it is also noted as O3. Ozone is noted as O3. By using our air condition, refrigerator and other appliances, we are adding such pollutants like CFC. CFC means chlorofluorocarbon. By adding such type of CFCs, by adding chlorofluorocarbon compounds means the compounds which have chlorine, fluorine and carbon. Now this type of pollutants, this type of compounds, they have the property that they always move upward direction. And it is said that one chlorine molecule, repeating again, one chlorine molecule can break down millions of ozone particles, right? So this CFCs and other pollutants, it will move upward and they will break down the ozone. And as this happens continuously, so there will be a cleavage on ozone layer, and this cleavage is called ozone hole. See, by increasing more uses of refrigerator, air conditions and other appliances, we are increasing the portion of CFCs into atmosphere, and they will all break down and it will make holes in our ozone layer. So that is called depletion of ozone layer. Now we know that this ozone layer protects us from ultraviolet rays which is coming from sun. As the ozone layer is depleted, as the ozone hole is created, that ultraviolet rays, it will come directly in contact with human beings and different organisms, and that is very harmful for us. By that we will have different type of disease. It may also cause skin cancer to us and different type of problems like cataracts and other eye defects. So this way depletion of ozone layer, it is also done by adding CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, into atmosphere by human activities. We can avoid this by using, instead of CFC, HFC or Freon. Also, if the refrigerator or AC which we are using is very old and it creates more CFCs, so to replace it, that would be the better option. So this way depletion of ozone layer is also a global problem which is caused to us due to pollution. Now let's discuss about carbon cycle. Let's see how carbon cycle works, how it processes. So first, at initial stage, we can start thinking about carbon dioxide which is there in atmosphere. We know that carbon dioxide is at very less portion in atmosphere. See, when we are writing any of cycle, we have to say that how it is there, how it exists, then how it is used and how it is returned back to the atmosphere. So first it will start from atmosphere carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide in atmosphere. Now the carbon dioxide which is present in atmosphere, how it is used, how it is taken. So here you can see that first it is used by plants. In the process of photosynthesis, plant use carbon dioxide and water, that we know. So the first way is it is used by plants. The second way that carbon dioxide, it is in form of carbonates in water, right? Like calcium carbonates and other form, calcium bicarbonates. So it is in form of carbonates in water, and that here example is given, limestone, CaCO3. So this way atmospheric carbon dioxide, it is utilized by plant and in form of carbonates in water as a limestone. Now these plants, how it further transfer carbon dioxide. So here you can see that if this plant is buried inside the soil for a long time, it will form a coal. So coal is also a form of carbon which we can get from plants, right? When we burn wood, right, it will give us coal. So that carbon, it is transferred in term of coal. Also, this plant is responsible for crude oil and petroleum. So in form of crude oil and petroleum, we are getting the carbon. So that carbon is also from the plants. So in the form of coal, in the form of petroleum. These plants, the herbivorous organisms, they use that plants as a food. So that carbon, it is transferred to organic compounds, and that is animals. In some of the cases, in some of the process, and by decomposition of plants, it is also written back into atmosphere. So here you can see that it is written back into atmosphere by the process of decomposition. Now, as we understood that in form of coal and petroleum that we are using as a carbon, now this organic compound as a plant, it transfer it to animals. Now how animals will shift our carbon cycle further? So these animals, by the process of higher temperature and higher pressure inside the earth crust, they can also form the petroleum. So they will transfer a cycle by petroleum. Also, some inorganic carbonates in form of shell of the bodies, they will give us carbon. When these animals, they will get decomposed by different type of decomposers, so they will also remove carbon into atmosphere. In other form, we know that in inhalation, in the process of inhalation and exhalation, so in the process of exhalation, these organisms, they remove carbon dioxide into atmosphere. So see, it is utilized also and it is given back into atmosphere also. So this way carbon cycle works. It is used by plants in form of carbonates in water as a limestone. Plants, it will shift it to coal and petroleum, and to animals. Animals will also responsible for petroleum and inorganic carbonates like cells, and that animals will get decomposed and it will release carbon into atmosphere, and by the process of exhalation it will give carbon dioxide to atmosphere, which will be useful in our carbon cycle. So this way the process of carbon cycle is done. So as it is asked, you can draw a figure of it, right? You can figure out a cycle, and from that you can write your answer if it is asked in exam. Same way this you can do for nitrogen cycle, right? In nitrogen cycle we know that there will be nitrification, ammonification, denitrification. How that is done, that already we have discussed in our earlier videos. So you can go throughout the videos, and it's very necessary to prepare both of the cycle, to prepare carbon cycle and to prepare nitrogen cycle. So this way we are going to complete our chapter number 14's important concepts regarding to our revision session 2. Now let's discuss about chapter number 30, why do we fall in. In this chapter we have discussed about the concept of disease free and healthy person. What is called healthy person? If a person is physically, mentally and socially fit, so in that case it is called a healthy person. But a disease free person means is not suffering from any of disease only, so that is not considered as a healthy person. Again, healthy person means a person who is physically, mentally and socially well. So that is the concept of healthiness. In this chapter we have discussed about the disease. In that we have discussed about acute disease and chronic disease. Right? What we have discussed in acute disease and chronic disease? Simple. In 2 marks of question it can be asked that plot a difference between acute disease and chronic disease. Acute disease means which the disease which stay for a short time, and chronic disease which stay for a long time. Acute disease, it is caused instantly, right? And chronic disease, it will not cause instantly. It is not caused instantly. It is preloaded. You can go throughout the worksheets, in that you have written it properly. So from that you are going to point it out. Here just I am giving you the glance of it. We can also write the examples of acute disease like common cold. Here we can have HIV, diabetes, etc. Right? So chronic disease and acute disease means the disease which stay for a short time, the disease which stay for a long time. HIV, that is the chronic disease, while jaundice, that is also the chronic disease. But if we talk about common cold or just a viral fever, right, which ends in a very short time, so that is considered as acute disease. Chronic disease may be a person has to suffer for whole of his life, right? So this way we can have a difference of acute disease and chronic disease, which can be asked to us in 2 marks. Okay, after understanding acute disease and chronic disease, we have taken the difference of infectious disease and non-infectious disease. Now what is called infectious disease? Infectious disease and non-infectious disease. Right now in this chapter we are discussing only on infectious disease, but let's first know what is infectious and which is non-infectious disease. In infectious disease, that disease can be spread by having a contact of affected person, while in non-infectious disease, if one is suffering from any of disease and you are in contact with that affected person, then that disease is not going to spread to us. Right? So that is a non-infectious disease. So difference of infectious disease and non-infectious disease is also very necessary to prepare for our exam. We have studied that in infectious disease, that infectious disease can be caused by different factors, right? Like bacteria. So that will be a bacterial disease. By different type of virus. So that will be our viral disease. By fungi. So that will be our fungal disease. By protozoans or single cell organisms, or by worms, which is multi-cell organisms, right? So the bacterial disease, viral disease, fungal disease, protozoans, and it is also caused by multicellular organisms, right? Protozoans, worms, or by multicellular organisms. So which type of disease is caused by what factor of infectious disease, that is also very important to prepare for your examination. It's already provided you in worksheet. Please go throughout the worksheet. You will get a detailed study of it. Now, in this section we are going to discuss about how infectious disease is spread or mean of spread of disease. So generally we know that some disease are airborne disease, some are waterborne disease, some are vector-borne disease, and some disease are spread due to sexual contact. Now, what do we mean by airborne disease? The disease which is spread through air, that is considered as airborne disease, right? We know that the different type of disease like cold, by sneezing, by cough, it is spread. So that will be our airborne disease. Waterborne disease. So the disease which is spread by water, that is waterborne disease like cholera, right? So that will be considered in waterborne disease. Vector-borne disease. So vector means what? We know. Different flies, mosquitoes, they are vector. They are responsible for transporting disease from one place to another, from the affected person to the healthy person. So that is vector-borne disease, and that example is malaria. It is caused by biting of mosquitoes. So your mosquito, it is a vector. So that type of disease is called vector-borne disease. And some of the disease which is called STD, that is sexually transmitted disease. What it is? Sexually transmitted disease, which comes in when affected person have a sexual contact with the healthy person, like syphilis and HIVs. So this way infectious disease is spread. So this type of question can be asked you in 3 to 4 marks, that how infectious disease is spread. So we can say that infectious disease are spread by air. So they are airborne disease. We can write different examples of airborne disease. Then we can write that it is waterborne disease. So In that we will give examples of different waterborne disease. It is also spread by vector. So some of them are vector-borne disease. So that is spread by different type of vectors, and by sexual intercourse, by sexual contact, it is also spread. So this way, mean of spread or how infectious disease is spread, if that question is asked, you can write this 4 points and you have to express that 4 points, because this question, if it is asked in 2 marks, so you can just write down the points, but if it is asked in 3 to 4 marks, so in that case you have to explain that what is airborne, waterborne, vector-borne, and how it is spread by having sexual contact. Now, as we have understood about how infectious disease is spread, now what is the condition of good health? Right? This type of question can be also asked, that what is the condition of good health? So the simple conditions are, our environment must be clean, or where we are living, that society must be clean, so different type of infectious disease or the other disease is not caused to us. The food which we are eating, it must be perfect, right? So our diet must be proper, right? Also we know that our mental state, it must be also healthy, because the concept of healthy person, it means one is physically, mentally and socially fit. So we have to arrange our atmosphere in such a way that we can be physically, mentally and socially fit. So the society, it must be clean, we must have a proper diet, right? Physical, we have to do different activities. So all this is there, by that we can make our body healthy. So if that type of question is asked, which already we have discussed in the worksheet, go throughout your question bank, the questions which is provided to you, that's very most important for your exam, right? So what is condition of good health? That is also the important question which can be asked to you in exam. We know that when disease is caused to us, there are 2 principles. That is principle of prevention. And principle of treatment. In principle of prevention, it is done when, in that we have to take care before the disease it is caused to us, right? So in principle of prevention, we are taking care. How we are taking care? That our environment must be clean, different vaccinations must be taken, our food must be proper, we have to maintain a distance from the affected person, that all things, it will come in prevention, right? You can go throughout the videos and worksheets which is provided, in that it is listed out. And in treatment, we know that by taking medicines, right, by having what is the concept of vaccination? That's also the important question, that we are making full our immune system by the vaccination, right? In vaccination, we know what we do, that we add the organism, we add like an antivirus in our body, so our immune system will be habited with that virus. So when actually the virus will come in our body, our immune system will be active to defeat that. So that is concept of vaccination, right? So we have also understood the concept of vaccination in our previous video, and in worksheets also it is there, right? So simple. Our chapter number 13, it's also very easy. Some of the differences we have to understand, what is infectious and what is non-infectious disease, that we have to understand. In infectious disease, there are bacterial disease, viral disease, the disease which is caused by fungi, disease which is caused by protozoan, single-celled organism, and which is caused by different type of microorganisms, or by multicellular organisms, that we have to understand. We have to also understand that what is called antibiotics, right, and how the function of antibiotics and antiviral is done, that is also explained to you in the video, right? So for our test, we have taken chapter number 8, chapter number 13 and chapter number 14. We have discussed some of the important points from that chapters in our revision session 1 and in our revision session 2. You can go throughout the videos which is provided to you of chapters, and the worksheets, the assignments which you have prepared very well. Also the question bank which is given to you, it's very necessary to complete all of the questions of question bank. I hope you have done your well. All the best. Thank you.